to those heroes if Juan gets them. So I don't think they'll play Ringo into a glaive or an Idris.
Sad times.
And also Lightning T loves his, Samuel. He actually plays the glaive lane when they do get glaive. So it'd be interesting how this draft is going to play out. NRG doesn't play Koshka though, so if they give Joseph Koshka, it's going to be very tough for NRG because Cloud9's going to snowball this game.
All right, Cloud9 banning away Lyra to start things off. Already, this is going to be an interesting draft.
Yeah, ban Lyra so that NRG doesn't ban Grace, and they take Grace or they take Box if Grace is banned. I think is the mentality behind that ban.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where A side I think has a lot of flexibility with their first ban because of what the situation it forces you into on the B side, but they're going to ban away Baron, pick up the Vox. Vox is the most played hero for Old School thus far in the lane, so he's going to be very happy to have his hands on that.
Yeah, going to grab that Vox, and that means that the Grace is slightly less attractive of a pick for NRG here, kind of picking that into your counter if you do lock it on in. And so Cloud9, they've set themselves up nicely here on this A side draft, and we'll see what NRG have to answer that.
Yeah, they played Grace with Blackfeather, Kestrel before. They can still run Grace. It's a little riskier because Vox is so mobile and can dance around her. But if they don't pick Grace, they need to ban her. So with Idris being taken here, they definitely need to ban it away if they don't have intentions to pick it up. So Koshka is a good ban. That means they do have to take... Oh, actually, Cloud9 is going to just ban the Grace for them. So now it leaves open Arden potentially here for NRG. Arden Idris is a strong combo we see in EU. In general, it just synergizes with Idris very well.
And I actually really like by picking up the Idris and banning the Koshka, because it kind of forced Cloud9's hand, because it says, okay, Cloud9 with their picks said, we're okay with you taking the Grace. But then they realized if they took the Grace, they were going to ban away that Idris, and they wanted to prevent the Idris-Grace combo. So by going for that Idris first, it then said, okay, Cloud9 now has to ban the Grace, otherwise they're going to let that combo go over.
Fortress! I like that counter. I like that aggressive. However, you can actually play against Fortress when you have like Petal with like a Flicker potentially. Baptiste too. Actually, Baptiste is countered if there's an aggressive jungler because of the mortal wounds. You can kind of stand your ground and out DPS a Baptiste and fight back. But Cloud9 can potentially run a Petal here, which is good into Fortress actually. With Lance, potentially. Lance is a good pick. So let's see what Cloud9 is going to pick on this side. There's Samuel available as well. Rhyme. But actually, Rhyme gets countered by Mortal Wound. But let's see what Cloud9 decides here.
I would think maybe Blackfeather could come through because they want something that can stick to the Idris and also still have some poke against the Idris. Because as of right now, Idris should be able to just really get a big lead and run away with things. The Lance is the only thing that can really kind of deal with the Idris at this stage. So I would expect one of the more assassins, but it is going to be that Petal pick.
Yeah, Petal is known to be good into Fortress because she's so mobile. He's so mobile, he can jump away, etc. With Lance, you can never get on them because when Fortress A's, Lance can just B, and then Petal can just jump away on top of that. So there's a lot of mobility and disengage. And Fox has a Sonic Zoom on top of that. So now NRG here against a Petal, they can't pick any melee heroes. Like Glaive is not going to work. A lot of melee is not going to work into Petal because she's so good against melee. So maybe Grumpjaw's open. They may even risk it and just go for the Grumpjaw. Let's see what NRG will decide, or they may pick Samuel up for Mr. Lightning T here. I don't think they'll pick Sky, even though he loves Sky, but I think if they're going to pick a range, they may go with Scarf, Sky, or Samuel. Oh, Cruel! Oh my god! This is crazy! Petal counters Cruel!
Yeah,
what is going on here? Holy moly!
So, the two heroes you hate to see the most when you're playing a Krull is Petal and Kestrel. And they just picked up the Krull into the Petal. Like there's should be no situation
NRG,
where this
man.
Krull is able to get
NRGG on the draft.
This is a confident pick coming out from NRG. Maybe they know something we don't know. Maybe they've got a
more confident for them than it is for us. I mean,
maybe it's a Captain Krull with like
it could be a lane Krull, perhaps?
Weapon Fortress and like a CP just. No, I'm kidding. Probably not.
I don't know. I'm not sure how they're going to rearrange this one or like what they've got planned. They must have something planned to lock it in. Like I feel like I already know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask anyway. How are we feeling about the compositions? I think you're both leaning pretty heavily towards Cloud9 right now.
I was feeling good until that last pick came through for NRG, but now it's just completely flipped it over to Cloud9's side, like 100%. I would have been leaning Cloud9 to begin with just because they're a better
Yep.
team. But the draft, I felt NRG had a very solid draft up until Krull.
Yeah,
And I love Krull. I am a big Krull fan, but not in this situation.
We'll have to see how it's going to pan out on this one. Let us know if you're a fan of the Krull pick, whether you're voting for NRG or whether you're going for Cloud9 on this one. Cloud9 certainly the favourites coming on in. Hashtag Vainglory8 is how you can get in touch on Twitter. But with that, it's time to head onto the Halcyon Fold and get on into our second quarterfinal.
NRGG with the draft. I'm loving this. This is full metal to the pedal for NRG against the pedal as well. So we'll have to see how Cloud9 can deal around this, because if NRG get to play their game, then Cloud9 may struggle.
I think this whole composition comes down to Gabe. So if Gabe can get really impactful Githian Walls and Impales to protect his team, especially from essentially a composition that has one job, which is rush a Petal or rush a Vox, a lot of it will come down to how well Gabe can peel. If he can peel into a wall and get those stuns, and his teams can peel back and get away, C9 might have a good chance here. But if NRG can pull off this composition, I don't see many ways of C9 stopping that train as it hits their front door.
And we may see a double weapon power composition once more. I think this time we're more likely to see a more utility style Cruel, perhaps a Tension Boat Aftershock Stormcrown build. Perhaps he negates the Tension Boat entirely. Right now it's a gank onto old school. Chakram burns through. I don't think they have the damage at level 1 though to deal with it, but Lightning T's going for it. Oh, one more auto attack and he finds the first blood, escapes the turrets, and he's going to be able to port back, it seems. I don't think Gabe Vizzle stops him. It's going to have to be a blind impale into the bush, and it is! He finds the root. Lightning T against the wall. Pedal's coming back from base. Lightning T needs to run. He's going for the kill here, but this will be his death, I feel. Looking for it. There's damage. Gabe Vizzle gets smited, but once more Lightning T, he misses his smite. Damage doesn't quite calculate properly, and now he's being chased by the pedal. Charges on to Joseph, but Joseph's having none of that.
Yeah, Joseph able to escape quite nicely there, but that is the premise of this composition, Dowsy. I'm expecting, okay, I'm fully expecting something completely different now, because this is a CP Idris with a weapon power poison shiv first Cruel. I was expecting a full burst dive composition, where they basically just rush one target. They get war treads very early on Fortress, but that is completely different now. We have a CP Idris coming out, and to me, it makes a little less sense now.
Yeah, I love weapon power Idris into Pedal and into Vox. I feel like CP Idris is very strong. I think that it's very strong, and I certainly see the desire to go it. But with a Fortress, does Cruel really need the Fortress to be able to engage? I'm not sure he does. You probably would have done better with a Lyra, but Lyra was banned, so then do you go for an Adagio? Does Adagio not have a space in this meta? Because both Grace and Lyra were banned. Your healers are then kind of reduced to 1, and we've seen a bit of Adagio, but it hasn't had the greatest success rate in the captain position.
I'm just wondering whether this is a specific response to Petal, so that Juan Hernandez doesn't have to commit himself too hard, and if he lands a Chakram onto a slowed Petal, with Petal's base HP being one of the lowest in the game, she might be quite easily blown up. I'm wondering if that's the case, but if you are going for a burst, the Petal composition, then I would have been more inclined to say Tension Bow, Aftershock Cruel, and go full weapon power Idris and just blow the Petal up, right? The only theory that I have about why they've changed this up to a CP Idris is the fact that they maybe are scared about what Gabe Vizzle could do with this lance. They might be scared about the fact that one Githian Wall could literally stop the engage in its tracks, and then the re-engage and chase down potential of C9 is very high. That is my one theory about why this now might be migrating towards a CP Fit Idris.
I wonder how that influences the Fortress. We'll have to find out though as the game goes down. Does Bradley's usefulness in this composition become less? But Gabe Vizzle does miss an impale. Lightning T is currently poistering for a gank, but he's going to head back to his jungle. In fact, the entirety of Cloud9 are going to move down to this newly spawned item shop in the center of the map. That's a poison shiv, a fountain as well. Some pretty big item spikes here, and Juan not quite at the point where he wants to be. They're going to minion candy the wave, allow Juan a nice safe backport that's not going to become interrupted. I don't think Gabe Vizzle a little bit too late to that.
Yeah, I won't be able to get the Basic attacks down. That minion candy wave has bought enough time for Juan, who is now sitting on a decent amount of CP, but not yet quite at his potential to get the divergent pass. He does have 1200 gold, which means he's probably going to do the same thing that we saw Best Chuck do. He looks like he's probably going to go towards a Shatterglass first here, because he could have got the Frostburn if he so chose, but he chose not to. I guess it's because double squishy, your Chakram can have huge impact against a Vox and a Petal if you land it, if you go down the Shatterglass route here, Darcy.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. He could have sold his Book of Eulogies as well to get himself the Crystal Bit that would have been required to turn the Frostburn plus the Crystal Bit into Divergent Pass, but he does just go back now, pick up that Shatterglass as mentioned, and he can start building towards the Broken Myth. Seems like a more viable option, especially in competitive, something that I'm going to do some investigating in, because I don't want to really talk about the effectiveness of Shatterglass versus Frostburn first item without testing it myself. But in competitive, where you want to be getting to your item spike as much as possible, a Shatterglass and a Broken Myth is certainly going to help towards that. It means you can bypass the alternating current as your second item. You don't have to worry about the Broken Myth because you already have it.
If I'm looking at this purely theoretical standpoint, Dalcy, a Shatterglass is far more, in my opinion, focused at landing a big Chakram and going for straight up burst than a Frostburn. Frostburn, I think, synergizes good with
Lightning T's going for an engage here. We'll talk about this in a second, as that's going to be a massive impale from Depth's Heart onto Old School. Kill over to Juan. Gabe Vizzle able to walk away here. That Broken Myth needs to stack up. That's when Idris starts doing his damage. Gabe Vizzle may have just went too far. That's a failed impale. That's a dead Gabe Vizzle. And this is NRG with a 3-1 lead currently over the side of Cloud9.
It's mid-game Cruel. He's got the Poison Shift that gives him a lot of early pressure because of the attack speed, the lifesteal, and the weapon power that it provides him. That's kind of everything that a Cruel wants, as I love Joseph just a little bit aggressive here. My god, the damage of the Chakram is huge!
That was a very risky play from Joseph. They do try to counter the gold miner being taken. This Chakram does so much work. Like, it really does. If you hit it, it blows someone up. Juan going to be sowing that Book of Eulogies now, picking himself up the Crystal Bit so he can start going towards that Broken Myth.
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing here, Dalcy, is it's more based around getting the big burst damage onto one target with the Chakram, which is why you see the Shatterglass come out first here. It will really, really devastate a low HP target like the Petal or like the Vox if you manage to land both the forward hit and the return hit of that Chakram. You saw Joseph there took 3/4 of his HP in just one ability. And you see in classic Joseph style... Wait a second.
Ooh, Bradley's impaled. Bradley fountains. Bradley escapes. Juan escapes as well. I'm pretty impressed by Bradley being able to escape there without having to pull his ultimate for the fortified health. I thought for sure he was dead, especially with the mortal wounds, reducing that fountain. But this turret's now in a lot of trouble. Juan trying to throw the Chakram through the wave to push it back as much as possible. I love the usage of minion candy from Bradley this game to just try and buy the team some time. Juan's going to go back now. He has a lot of gold in his inventory. Can't quite finish the Broken Myth. He is going to upgrade his boots and speed back into the lane. Cloud9 looking for this turret. There's the wolves coming out, attack of the pack, and it's more used just as a disengage the turret tool. NRG able to save their turret and actually keep a lot of HP on it.
Not a great siege composition from C9 though, because you've got a fairly short range in the form of Vox, and Petal, whilst she can be good, puts herself in a pretty aggressive position to get the Munions to do the work for her. So against the CP Idris, who can clear waves pretty rapidly with his Chakram, C9 had got to get some sort of man advantage and threaten a tower dive, I think, but I feel like an outright push a turret like that. If they got the kill onto the fortress, onto Bradley, they might have had the ability to take that turret. But Bradley, like you said, really good job with the minion candy, really good job with the fountain. Stopped himself from going down there. Here comes Cruel.
Looking for an engage, but not a hard engage. Never really expecting Cruel to go for the hard engage unless the ultimate flies away from him to start with. But he does move back into lane. That's a lot of damage going down. He could look for the stun, in fact. He doesn't even need it. Old School doesn't go down. Juan now caught in an impale, going to jump onto Joseph, jump away as well. Increased range with his Shimmer Strike as the CP root, but it's not enough to keep himself alive. That is going to be Juan losing his life. Surely the turret losing his life as well as NRG backfoot.
Lightning T didn't use his ultimate, and he had a point-blank range in Old School to do that with. I'm wondering what kept him from pulling the trigger there, Dalsy. I don't know if he had low energy. I can't remember what actually happened in the fight. But Lightning T could have pulled the trigger with the ultimate onto Old School. It would have been fairly difficult for Old School, I think, to reflex block that at such point-blank range, or at least it would have required insane reaction speeds. But they didn't do it, and I'm wondering why. But they do get an engage here.
Yeah, Gabe Vizzle loses his life. The Goldman does go in favor of Cloud9. Juan going to move into the lane here, look to push this turret. I think they've got a great chance to actually take this turret. The Chakram rips through it, Scoundrel, especially with Shadow Glass. I just can't see how NRG don't secure this turret. It's going to have to be a godlike defense from Old School and I Love Joseph, but maybe the box is enough to scare them away, especially the burst that comes out of the pedal. Juan not focusing the turret, looking for poke onto heroes instead. NRG just felt like they didn't have the confidence in themselves, but I think they could have at least did some chip damage.
Let's take a look at the itemization now, Dalsy, especially on the side of C9. You're looking at an Aegis being worked towards by Joseph, who's currently sitting on 2,600 gold, by the way. And Old School already completed his Aegis. They both realized one of the major threats to them this game is going to be getting caught by a stray Chakram, which, whilst you think of yourself as one of the best players in the world, it still can be difficult to dodge that kind of ability in the midst of a team fight where you have so many other things to focus on. So again, Old School and Joseph really respecting the damage that can come out from CP Idris, and they've prioritized to get some heavy early shielding on board. But Juan Hernandez has now finished his Broken Myth, so that will give him some remedy against that high shield that the Aegis provides.
Right, if he can stack his Broken Myth onto Gabe Vizzle, then it should only take one Chakram to blow up I Love Joseph, I think. The damage will just be too much, Scoundrel, as we start this game back up again. Yeah, this is tough times for Cloud9. They've maintained, I guess, position. They've got a gold lead as well, but this is where you start to see the CP Idris do a lot of work, and Cloud9 are out of position here, trying to take this Crystal Sentry. They are very vulnerable to an engage from NRG. Here they come as well, straight on top. Look at that Chakram, straight through the middle. But they've blown up the Cruel somehow. Impaled one. He is trying to escape. That's going to be Bradley going down. Cloud9 turn that on its head. Where did Lightning T go?
Oh, they had one shot, but they didn't manage to take it there, Dalsy. Again, you said C9 out of position, went straight for the gold mine. For the crystal mine. Do you know what? I think the major sort of props to be given is Gabe Vizzle right there. The one thing that he needs to do for this composition is, for the most part, body block the Cruel ultimate as much as he can. And in that specific fight, Gabe body blocked the Cruel ultimate. He was the big wall that they couldn't get through, and then it allowed Old School and I Love Joseph to kite. And let's be honest, Lightning T not really sitting on a huge amount of defense right now against a tension bow and a Shatterglass Frostburn from I Love Joseph. Not really got the huge amount of tanky frontline to burst through, so they got through him very quickly there, Dalsy. But let's give credit to Gabe Vizzle. He needed to body block for his team, he needed to be the wall that made it difficult for Cruel to land his ultimate, and he did that with style.
Yeah, I think that the Lance pick was very clever from Gabe Vizzle, because if it's a weapon power Idris who wants to dive on top of your composition, well, you got a Giphian wall, you can knock him away. A lot of anti-dive potential in that Giphian wall, but with the rise that seems to be Cruel right now in 2.6, see it, happening in North America, perhaps Cloud9 knew that this was a pocket pick that NRG have been holding on to due to scrims or whatnot. But Gabe Vizzle's pick basically counters the Cruel before it happens. Good Chakram damage coming out, Juan stacking up, looking for the re-engage though. There's the Impale, needs to dodge though, so vulnerable if he gets impaled. A very squishy target is this CP Idris, but he is stacking up nonetheless. They're looking for another Impale. It's going to connect onto Juan. That's a very late reflex block, and that's him dead. Bradley now in the front line. Lightning T looking for Old School here. He runs in, gets the fountain, dodges the Impale, but he still loses his life, despite the fact that none of this is CC connected. And NRG are just not able to deal with Gabe Vizzle's lance.
Again, he crucibled the Cruel ultimate, and that's probably one of the major reasons that we are seeing NRG fall in this particular instance, is if the Cruel ultimate doesn't hit, there isn't any way to secure your target. When you have a Cruel, you want to be able to secure and chase down a target, but both Petal and Vox are very good at kiting, and you add Lance, who is a peel machine, into the mix, can be very difficult for Cruel to actually even start building up those building up those weakness stacks. So that was one of the major issues there. That again, Gabe Bizzle being that front line that his team needs, knocks back NRG, and once they have lost that initial engage with the Cruel ultimate, suddenly they have to then retreat. And the only person that is good in a retreat on the NRG composition is the CP Idris. That means 1 out of 3 of your composition actually functions when you aren't engaging. For C9, they function in both kiting and engaging. Their entire composition does well in both aspects of the game. They have a composition that functions in multiple aspects of team fighting. And that's why I always think the Fortress pick is, for me, you have to be going all in on Fortress if you pick him. Fortress has one button, Dalsy. That button is go ham. If you aren't prepared to go full baloney, there's no way you pick a Fortress.
No, it's go homie at that time, Scoundrel. Cloud9 looking for the last life of this. That is Petal caught out, taking a lot of damage. Fountain trampolines away. And Lightning T trying his best, but he tunnels to his death. Now it's going to be Juan losing his life. A Shimmer Strike, Bradley goes down, and that's going to be Juan on the wrong side of the wall. It's a triple kill for Old School. It's going to be the last life of the Crystal Sentry taken away, now eliminated. The Kraken, she's just spawned, and Cloud9 could have been hoped for a better teamfight result.
Yeah, and it was a double infusion C9 team as well. Juan Hernandez, I don't believe, had an infusion in that fight, but you saw Dalsy. They even landed the Cruel ultimate onto Petal this time round, but they did not have the flat burst damage, especially with Aegis now completed for Joseph, to actually kill him in the few seconds that they had the opportunity to do so. And then as soon as he jumped behind Gabe Bizzle, the Githian walls came out, the peel came out, they were able to kite backwards. It was a perfect, wonderful example of a kiting composition. And then once they got the kill onto Cruel, they turned things back around. And Lance can do both. He can engage and peel, and that's exactly what he did for C9 there. Really, really well executed fight, even though Joseph got caught out at the start.
I really love the drafting from Cloud9 to take away Lyra, to take away for Grace, take that Lance, makes the captain choice for NRG, especially in a composition like this that they wanted to run, just so much more risky.
Why don't you just pick Arden, though?
Arden, yeah, Arden can work, especially the all-in, the kill potential. Right now, though, they are just getting destroyed. Lightning T doesn't even look for an engage, but he dies under the turret. Not a great performance from him on this Cruel. We're going to be blunt, Scoundrel. Now Juan left with the hard task of trying to whittle down this Kraken whilst Cloud9 moves in for the execute of this game. Chakram going through it. Old School just doing so much work on the Vox. Juan struggling to stay in range. It's going to be Bradley T basically becoming the human sacrifice to give Juan a bit of extra room onto this, but he loses Bradley T, and he's going to lose his life as well. Shimmer strikes out, goes down to a Vox auto attack, hadn't quite reached him. That's going to be Lightning T going down as well. That's a fairly simple game for Cloud9. They looked good here at Scoundrel, and Gabe Bizzle's Lance facilitated it.
Absolutely, Gabe Bizzle was one of the major impacts of this team composition for C9. Again, I question the choice of build paths for NRG. If you pick a Fortress, you have to go full, literally go full hard. You know, you fully commit with a Fortress fight, right? But you didn't there because you had the CP Idris, and CP Idris doesn't go like full commit, right? He's supposed to be like a ranged poke type carry who can commit when necessary. I would have much preferred an on-hit Cruel build, a one power Idris build. You stick to your target, you blow them up, and then you deal with the rest of the fight after that.
Coach Scoundrel giving his advice. We'll see if NRG follows it here. As Cloud9 take game one, we'll throw it back to the desk to break it down.
Thank you very much, guys, and convincing game for Cloud9 up against NRG to kick things off here. And honestly, it didn't look as one-sided right at the start of the game. NRG definitely seemed to be going even maybe taking a couple of advantages, but the later on in the game it got, the more it seemed to favor Cloud9. Let's start right at the beginning, though. Like, how do you guys feel that things started out here?
I mean, things started off pretty good for NRG because they were avoiding the pedal, and you know, when you have someone who counters you pretty directly, you go ahead and try and just make sure that they can't have much of an impact. Either it's by trying to shut them down or by just trying to avoid them with your early rotations. And NRG did a really good job of avoiding I Love Joseph on this pedal with their early rotations. They were constantly going in, diving in onto Old School, looking for kills in the lane. I was really like the fact that they did that. Unfortunately, eventually the opposing jungler is going to show up, is going to make an impact, and once Petal started to join these fights, that was when they started to swing back the other way.
Yeah, that was another play by Lightning T. There's a good job in the early game, but it all fell apart at 11:30. At this Century fight here specifically, Cloud9 re-engages, blows up the crew, and then Lance, Gabe, that Githian wall into the wall, stunning them, and then crew just blows up. Gabe body blocks the crew out there, and then they get 2 kills from that fight, Goldmine, and then a 2K gold lead. In this fight here, again, the re-engage from Cloud9. Like, look how good this re-engage is. Gabe actually crucibled the crew ultimate, so they couldn't land a lot of crew ultimate. And Gabe, he waits for the reflex box to drop, and then he Githian walls one. Gabe really carried a lot of these fights and played so well in this game. It was amazing to watch his Lance, and I knew you put Gabe on Lance, they're going to win this game, and he did that. And in each fight, it was funny because 11:30, 2 minutes later, Cloud9 wins a fight, and then get another 2K gold lead, 4K gold lead, another 2 minutes later, 7K gold lead. It just kept snowballing, and every fight, NRG just wasn't having it.
Yeah, and beyond that early game, it just seemed to, as you say, just snowball in favor of Cloud9 more and more and more as we got to the later stages of the game.
Yeah, it was just a really difficult task for the members of NRG, and again, Gabe Vizzle body blocking the Kroll ultimates, using the Crucible to block the Kroll ultimates. It was really the only thing they had to worry about blocking. So anytime it got thrown out, it was getting blocked. And if you're not landing that stun with the way that NRG built this composition, if the stun doesn't come out, there's no chance for them to win those fights.
Yeah, one thing Cloud9 is extremely good at is they really do a good job for protecting old school, but more importantly, focusing the front line. They kite, and everybody focuses on it. Look at Crew. Crew literally just blows up. He's full health, but he's gone in an instant because Petal, Old School, and Joseph focused that Crew down, and he dies so fast. It was amazing to watch how they're so good at counter-engaging. It's amazing to watch Cloud9 in these team fights.
Yeah, and then this was just the end of the game as Old School just finishing people off, and I love Joseph heading on over to finish off a kill as well for himself. And I've got to say, we went with Old School as the player to watch, but I feel like I Love Joseph was really on fire that game. He finished the game 6-0-6, perfect scoreline for him, as well as 100% kill participation. Joseph on this Petal stepped up above and beyond in this game.
Again, it's the counter pick that came through. Is Kroll into Petal. There's no chance for Kroll to try and get into the enemy jungle and try and disrupt what I Love Joseph is looking to do. So he really was just able to farm up throughout the entire early game, completely uncontested, and just come online very early.
Technically, it wasn't a counter pick because he picked it first. He just wanted to play Petal. It was NRG that locked it in for himself.
But the Petal was a counter pick into Fortress, though. Petal does work into Fortress, for sure.
So it was definitely still a very good pick in this situation. So looking towards the draft of this next game then, where do we expect NRG to go? Aside from just not picking Crawl into a Petal, is there a logical reason why you go with the Crawl there? Can you see the plan that they were trying to build and what they might go into this game doing because of it?
With the way that they ended up building it, no. Scoundrel mentioned in that game, if they had gone for the on-hit Crawl and just had it be their focus was just to try and get onto one target and blow them up, yeah, that's a great way to try and set it up. I still don't think it's a great pick in that situation, but at least there's an identity to that composition. At least there's a win condition. With the way that they ended up building, there was no win condition. They didn't have their win condition would have just been if we happened to win a team fight. There wasn't a clear directive to get to that win. And so that's going to be the thing that has to change. Is they need a composition that's more cohesive within itself.
Okay,
how about don't fight in jungle against Lance, and maybe play a cooldown Cruel where his ult's always up, and just basically if you miss the ult or Gabe blocks it, back off and make sure you force a fight when you land the ult. But they did land the ult that last fight, but Cloud9 was just way too ahead and didn't do anything.
So NRG going to ban away the Vox to start things off, so Old School not going to be able to get that one for himself. But Cloud9 going to answer that one with a Baron ban.
So Grace or Lyra here. What is NRG going to pick? Or are they going to surprise us and do something completely off meta, which they have done before? So let's see what NRG decides here. But I think for them, they're going to go with the Grace. So that leaves Lyra open for the side of Cloud9.
Yeah, very likely to be Lyra picked up. When the one healer does come through, you generally want to have one on your own side. So they do a first pick that. Very easy first pick for them.
Yeah, so easy captain lock-ins to start things off. Not too dangerous. It's not too easy to just easily counter-pick into a captain as much as it is in some of the other roles, and you can kind of lock in some safe picks there. But now going into the bans, how do we anticipate these two teams building on these compositions?
I would expect, an Idris to come out from one of these two sides. It's such a strong pick. It goes really well with a Grace, which is why I kind of thought Cloud9 might have actually banned it away there, but
yeah, they banned Batiste, and I think NRG is going to ban Koshka potentially here. They did ban Koshka the last game, and it makes sense because I think if they don't ban Koshka, I think Cloud9 is going to probably pick it up because Lara and Koshka will be very strong together. So now Idris is open. So are they going to pick Idris here? I think Cloud9 will probably pick up the Idris, or yep, they're gonna pick up the Idris, and then now NRG has Glaive. They tend to Glaive lane, so they can pick up the Glaive lane and play with like Samuel, for example, which is a comp that they actually have ran before. So that may be the comfort comp that NRG picks here.
It would make sense, make a lot of sense for them, and like we just said, it's also their comfort picks. And when you're going up against a team like Cloud9, if you can get your comfort picks in a composition that makes sense, then that is generally the way that you should try and go. Give yourself your best chance at victory. So
yeah, they also have done Grace, Blackfeather, and Kestrel. So is that a composition that may come out again too? So let's see what NRG decides. But I think, yeah, so Blackfeather comes out, and maybe now they can end with the Kestrel here and play a Weapon Blackfeather, which is kind of even with Idris. Is really going to be based on skill level and who outplays and who outfarms the other person. Because I feel like Blackfeather and Idris are pretty similar in terms of, their style of play. They're very mobile and they do a lot of damage. Oh, he's going with the Samuel here, which is a pretty decent pick right here.
Yeah, so very solid composition coming out from NRG here. You've got that Blackfeather going up to lane, or very likely at least, and Samuel heading CP into the jungle. Now Cloud9, they've got to finish off their composition. What do you expect to go into the jungle for them?
I expect something that is going to be able to kind of assist Idris with some dives, and it is going to be the Sky pickup. So trying to poke and harass with the Idris in the Sky, and then when it's time to go all in, both of them can go diving straight onto the back line. Very likely going to be trying to focus down that Samuel as you get later on, because that's one of the big strengths of an Idris is when you go the weapon power path, you can really get onto a hero like a Samuel and just, as soon as the Drifting Dark comes out, you dash in behind him, and all of a sudden his Malice and Verdicts are nowhere near as effective, and it puts him in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I love Cloud9's draft. Sky counters all three of those heroes. I mean, except for Samuel, because it's more of a skill matchup at that point. But Grace is not that good into Sky, and Blackfeather not that good as well because of her 4 barrage and ability to kite and reposition herself almost instantly. So I do like Cloud9's draft here, especially with Lyra and Idris for the front line.
All right, so big fans of the Cloud9 draft. And what is it that NRG are going to have to do in this game to get this to a third game, to stay in this series and get those all-important points on the board?
It's going to be a lot about focusing down that, picking one of those targets and focusing them down. Whether it's Sky or Idris, they're both going to be very slippery and elusive and difficult to focus down, but you have to stick to that target. If they get way and get out of the fight, then maybe you can switch over, but you have to make sure that just because they reposition once in the fight, you don't just give up and try and switch targets, otherwise you're going to be chasing targets all around the fight.
Okay, thoughts, Sujay?
Samuel's got to win the early game, snowball, and then he needs to outscale Sky first before Sky gets to late game.
So all about building up that snowball.
Yeah, it's all jungle. It's all about jungle here.
Okay, we'll see how this jungle matchup is going to pan out. Let us know who you're going for on this one. Hashtag Vainglory8. Do you believe in the NRG comeback, or are Cloud9 going to be cruising on through the skies on this one? It's time to head onto the Halcyon Fold for the second game in the series.
This is a pretty important match here for the side of NRG Scoundrel. Currently sitting on 5 points in the standings. They are at risk of dropping into the Challenge Battles zone if they can't at least secure themselves a single point.
Yeah, but they've got some elements of the composition that can do well here, Dalsey. The weapon power Blackfeather into weapon power Idris sort of matchup, it favors the weapon power Blackfeather. You have a great trading tools with the on point, the fortified health that it provides you, the shielding. So, Old School might have a tough time in the laning phase here, and already Juan Hernandez putting on a bit of pressure.
Yeah, he is, as is Bradley in the jungle. He's forced Isle of Joseph and Gabe Vizzle to share experience in the backs, which means that Lightning T is going to have a bit more pressure in the jungle if they can find an engagement now. Joseph and Gabe Vizzle are starting up their fronts, which means that they will hit level 2, or at least Isle of Joseph should hit level 2, I think, at this point. And so that pressure is now depleted, considering that Bradley has moved into lane to try and help out Juan.
I agree with Suijay's analysis, by the way. I definitely think that Samuel needs to put pressure on early here, because the later this goes, the more and more I favor Samuel. Oh, wow, Lightning T!
This is
he knows.
him. No, yeah, that was not a normal move. That was, unfortunately, by the looks of it, something a little bit amiss. And now Bradley's in trouble. Juan going to throw out that on point. Lightning T didn't have the strongest of performances in the previous game. Now, whether that be just due to the dynamics of Cruel into Petal, or if there's something else going on behind the scenes that we don't know of, Scoundrel. Either way, NRG can't really be affording to have these kind of mishaps when they are this close to the challenge battles.
Yeah, just as we were about to say, we really would like to see Samuel win the early game. It is important that they get an early siege. They put pressure onto old school Juan Hernandez. A crucial part of this composition is winning the lane versus the CP Idris as well. Like I said, bad lane matchups are completely alleviated by Booker Eulogies in some ways, and Lyra only makes that easier for old school. I don't expect once the laning phase gets into full swing with old school and Gabe Bizzle kind of there the entire time that we'll actually see much pressure onto old school, but you know, it is an area that I think as a 3, NRG should be looking to pressure, but already C9 taking advantage in the lane. It's just not good for NRG at this stage of the game.
Lyra into Grace is definitely favorable towards the Lyra in the early levels. It's only towards the end game when Grace's heal becomes so obnoxious that you can't deal with it, that it becomes a bit of an issue. Look at this slow, look at the speed. I love Joseph cuts off Lightning T as he tries to weave his way around Gabe Bizzle, but he's just run straight into old school. That would be the easiest kill of his life there. Old school going to be finding himself up in this lane matchup against Juan Hernandez into the Weapon Power Black Feather. Definitely a counter matchup there. If the Black Feather's on equal footing with the Idris as far as skill is concerned, then usually it's the Black Feather who wins it. But with a Lyra to kind of alleviate those issues, Scoundrel with an early lead towards old school, it's not going to be too much of a problem for Cloud9.
No, Juan really putting on pressure. Actually, wow, a lot of massive Malice and Burdens going down onto old school.
Whoa! That was insane. The benediction comes through and Bradley takes the kill. Old
I
school.
don't know whether that was just, I mean, that was like 3 Malice Verdicts in a row through Drifting Dart landing onto old school. Did he just not have another way that he could move?
No, well, he didn't have boots. Maybe perhaps he just decided not to attempt to dodge the second Malice and Verdict that was going to throw out. It did seem a little bit odd, perhaps just disrespecting the burst damage of the benediction.
Yeah, again, maybe they thought they were going to get out with the Lyra heal, sort of saying from Gabe Bizzle, we've got it up in a couple of seconds, don't worry. But yeah, the benediction coming through did get the kill onto old school here, but it did go to Bradley, remember, not a huge target that you'd want some of your kill gold to go onto, although as a Grace, the more gold she can get, the more items she can get, the tankier she can become, alleviate some of the poor base stats that she has. Old school Gabe Bizzle just going to walk through, try and take anything away, but already has been cleared by Lightning T here.
Old school is sitting about 600 gold away from his Sorrow Blade here. We'll be looking to build that so he has his Divergent Paths unlocked. He hasn't really left himself any inventory space to shortcut it with a double 6 Sins. Taking a lot of damage though from this Black Feather. Here comes Lightning T as well. Looking for an engage. Joseph has moved into lane. There's a fountain for Gabe Bizzle. Bradley has just purchased his own as he comes into the lane. Death from above won't catch anyone. Juan going to pop a potion. He has that Book of Eulogies, of course, and a Poison Shift now, so he can look to actually just heal straight up with his auto attacks with the last hits as well. And he's up to full, just like that. Cloud9, though, need to continue putting the pressure on, I think, if they don't want to kind of fall trap to this stronger early to mid game composition that NRG have.
And see, Samuel always makes sieges really easy for the team that has the Samuel, as it looks like a flank coming out from Joseph. Lightning T has spied this out.
Yeah, Scout Trap does spot it. Fight breaks out in the lane as everyone just fights all across the map to keep all parties occupied. You know, if you can't save your Sky Scoundrel, probably the best thing you can do is probably engage your opponents who are directly in front of you to at least make sure that this catch that Samuel has made is between Samuel and Sky.
And again, that was pressure coming out in the lane from NRG to deny old school the ability to shop and get his Divergent Paths as quickly as he potentially would have wanted to. You saw he was looking to make a move down towards the jungle shop, but he got dragged back into the lane because as a 3, NRG had grouped up and tried to push the turret. But now he's got it. He's got that Divergent Paths unlocked. He's probably working towards what's Well, I don't know. He's got a Weapon Blade in hand, and also a Book of Eulogies. Now, there's a couple of options that you can go from here. I imagine some Idrises would consider a Tension Bow now. Some would consider a Poison Shiv second. Where would you be looking if you've got that Weapon Blade picked up for Old School and the Book of Eulogies?
Yeah, it's Odic Scoundrel.
I would have thought Poison Shiv because of Samuel and Grace.
You think Poison Shiv, but perhaps you go the Tension Bow because you want to just try and blow up the Samuel early. You know, this is kind of where Samuel's damage falls off for a little bit. As he builds towards his Broken Myth, you can kind of exploit that with the Sky, locking him down, the Idris hitting his level 6. So if you go towards the Tension Bow, Cloud9 are basically saying we want to kill you. So he's going to find one. That's one kill. NRG not able to keep him alive. And that's without a Poison Shiv to negate the healing that the Black Feather has and the Grace has. And you know what, Scoundrel, before I throw it back to you, I just want to praise Cloud9 for a second. The way they share experience is fantastic. Bradley is nowhere near level 6, but you see Gabe Bizzle just making random trips into the jungle. Joseph holds the back camps in place so that Gabe Bizzle can soak up that experience. It's allowed for a massive lead on these two captain positions.
It's one of the major understated aspects of Vainglory, the ability to effectively share experience, because levels are incredibly important power spikes. We talk about item power spikes all the time, but levels are probably one of the more underrated areas that we don't often get to talk about. I mean, when you have a Celeste, obviously it speaks for itself. CP Blackfeather, you know, often it speaks for itself, but just levels in general in terms of base stats and increases in abilities. Every ability that you upgrade gives you a flat increase in base damage or a flat increase in base healing, all of which is equivalent to the likes of, you know, a decent amount of items, Dalsy. So, you know, to get level 6 early and to get, you know, everybody in your team at a good experience level, it's something that is very understated about the way, you know, you should be sharing experience as a professional team, and C9 do it incredibly well.
Yeah, certainly are. It's pretty incredible to see here. It is going to be that Poison Shiv, which is far more standard as your second item on Idris. He's made room in his inventory to allow for that. Gabe Bizzle with a flank. Here comes Joseph as well. Everyone's caught off here in NRG. The Oblivion won't catch anyone. The Crucible well timed. Is going to be Old School knocked up, but great death from above cuts Bradley's route short. He takes a bit of poke in the process. This is a turret siege that I just don't think NRG can afford to defend. They need to leave this turret for dead, and they are going to actually respectfully do so. As that turret does go down, it's a huge gold lead over to Cloud9. 3,000 gold miner full as well, though I feel like taking it may be a little bit too risky.
Yeah, and you can see that the likes of NRG realize that they are too far behind to invest super heavily into defense. Lightning T is, you know, sort of going towards very quickly that Broken Myth. It is a big power spike that he should look to utilize. The one thing that realistically NRG have over C9 in the mid game is they have the range of the Samuel with the Drifting Dart, who can build Broken Myth stacks very easily and effectively, and then that they can look to use that to gain some sort of advantage in team fights. That's the one thing that I think C9 you know, potentially need to be wary of. So expect C9 to keep close eyes on infusion timings, on power spikes for this Samuel, because Lightning T, if he hits that Broken Myth and he uses it at range, and it you know, makes it very difficult for C9 to sort of exist past that damage that he puts out, then that's one area that NRG could find their way back into this game. Although the chances of getting back into this game are getting slimmer and slimmer right now.
Yes, Gold Miner is in full vision of NRG being taken, but they can't do anything to stop it. Old School dives in onto Lightning T. Lightning T with a full heal from Grace. Old School takes a lot of damage, blocks the Holy Nova. Here comes Juan from the side, and Old School's kind of messed up his Shroud Step, but there won't be a re-engage from NRG. They're going to take that Treant away. And Old School's going towards a breaking point as his final item here at Scoundrel. Typically, you see this against Black Feather so that you can kind of go head-to-toe with him, build up that sustained damage. You know, definitely a good item. Tension Bow will allow the team to blow up the Samuel quicker, but with the Sky and with the high mobility she provides and kind of the ability to force Samuel to not go a more efficient route to escape the Idris, then perhaps Cloud9 can just engineer via team synergy a route for Old School to easily take down Lightning T.
I actually think it's even more simple than that, Dalsy. I just think Breaking Point's better against Black Feather.
Oh, yeah, against Black Feather it is. I'm talking about Samuel.
Yeah, I know, but the reason that Old School might be considering it here is that he's likely to get locked into duels with the Black Feather. So it's likely that he just wants to go Breaking Point because it's better against Blackfeather. And if you build up Breaking Point stacks against a Blackfeather, then it's going to be equivalent to having the kind of burst damage that Attention Bow provides anyway, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. As I was saying, Scoundrel, that's exactly the reasoning there. Cloud9. I did, yeah. That was the opening gambit of the sentence there.
Wow. I just zoned out for like a good 15 seconds then.
That's all right, Scoundrel. Let me lure you into a comfortable, relaxed state with this delicate Australian-British hybrid of an accent. Where are NRG at the moment? They are not present on the map. They are, I guess, on the House Fold, but they're not really present, is the question. Broken Myth now for Lightning T. Surely this is the point where NRG look for fights. You see Bradley going in for an engage, but Juan doesn't seem very confident to be jumping on top of it. NRG need to pull the trigger, but they're just taking so much poke damage from both the Chakram and the Forge Raj as well. Cloud9 with the Lyra can sustain any poke thrown back at them.
They are about to lose their infusions. Juan has got one. He does use his C into. I'm not sure that's what you wanted to do, buddy.
No, Lightning T's in trouble. That's a fountain not used to save his life. And Juan dances back. Is safe for now. Bradley looking for a re-engage. They've been tanking this turret for what seems like a decade at this point. Dancing between the two. Joseph now getting in position to try and do the damage to this turret, but they lost their minion wave, and Joseph's tanking it all up. That's going to be heal for now, keeping himself alive. Cloud9 get the minion wave they need. Can Juan jump in, do the work with Bradley by his side? Bright Bulwark will stop it. That's going to Cloud9 taking a turret. Bradley goes in, Shroud steps away. Joseph holding over comes out, but it's blocked up, and Juan can't get on top of Joseph here. Cloud9 should just be walking away, pretty much getting everything they want, building their gold lead up to 6,000, and NRG getting nothing. Unless Lightning T with an empowered Malice and Verdict finds a kill here. And he will. It's going to be Bradley taking the kill. Old School jumps in. That's going to be Old School going down. Very odd play there from Cloud9. Once more seemingly disrespecting NRG.
Again, it's now the Broken Myth completed for the Samuel. This is one area of the game that they can look to exploit. They have got an item spike on Juan Hernandez. He's getting pretty beefy on this weapon power Blackfeather. He should be able to finish off, get the ace buff here, and suddenly things looking like they could turn in the favor of NRG. They've still got quite a way to go now, Dowsey, but I think NRG played very well around their infusion timings there as well. The infusions from Cloud9 had just dropped off. I believe Old School picked one up when he went to the jungle shop, but Lightning T had picked one up just after he died, and Juan Hernandez actually had one when they were defending their tier 2 turrets. They played around their infusion timings very well, and the Broken Myth item spike for the Samuel. And now Juan Hernandez has got Metal Jacket, Breaking Point, Poison Shiv, and Tension Bow. He's pretty strong in a duel, especially going up toe-to-toe with this Idris, so you know, I think NRG have a good area that they can look to exploit in terms of the game pressure now.
They have to use it though, and this is the thing that I'm concerned most about Scoundrel, is that it doesn't feel like NRG have been using the power that their composition has into Cloud9's. They may look for a fight now, but look at Lightning T, just gets destroyed instantly. The heal keeps him alive. He is managing to get to the back line. That's going to be a good crucible. Grace almost down. Benediction shield, not going to be enough. Juan can't escape this Sky. No, he can by killing her. But now he has to escape the entirety of Cloud9. Gabe Bizzle very low, but that's an easy kill for Old School. Lightning T re-engages with the Drifting Dark. Malice and Verdicts as well. It's going to be Old School trapped up. Can't make it to the portal. Gabe Bizzle says, come to me, I've got you. And he got him, he did not. That will be a kill going over to Lightning T. Follows through the portal. Gabe Bizzle should go down. Could be an ace as well. 6 seconds, easily enough for Lightning T. And it felt like if Lightning T just had got into the fight earlier, Scoundrel, that could have been a much different story for NRG.
Yeah, he got pushed out to the side, but I think actually NRG played it very well. The sign of a good Grace is channeling the ultimate before the target actually takes the necessary damage, and it finishes channeling by the time they take the damage. You get maximum efficiency out of it that way. And actually, Cloud9 absolutely tunneled in on Bradley, and Bradley did a really good job of surviving, A, using the Holy Shield from his ultimate channel, but also B, using the Benediction to buy enough time for both Lightning T and Juan Hernandez to get into position. But let's be honest, most of that was through some individual hero plays from NRG, the 1v1 from Juan Hernandez against I Love Joseph, and then Lightning T being able to 2v1 versus Old School and Gabe Bizzle, as well as MVP Crystal Miner, which, again, I think Cloud9 thinking they are further ahead than they think they are, and that has been punished now as NRG have secured the Kraken.
That was a bold Kraken call there, Scoundrel.
It was,
because
yeah.
everyone from NRG was dead about Lightning T. Samuel, the worst Kraken taker, but he starts it up, gets the damage done so that his team can get there. And now Cloud9 just didn't expect that a Kraken would be started up, considering it's a Samuel. How does Samuel do Kraken by himself? We've seen it attempted in BG8 and failed before. This is so much gold over to NRG, but look at this. Cloud9 want the fight. Juan down to half HP, gets the heal from the Grace. The Founder comes out as well. Lightning T trying to escape, but it's going to be Juan just dancing around, taking Old School down. No, he survives, and Bradley may lose his life. Lightning T, Malice and Verdict, they need to get Old School, but Old School finds the kill. Lightning T does return on to Old School, but now he is between Gabe Vizzle and Joseph. The Kraken still doing work. She's about to get herself a second turret, which will be all she wrote, as the turret will pretty much take her down to only a couple of HP. NRG have bridged the gap here, and they are taking Cloud9 to a full game.
Well, you're seeing the prowess of the weapon power Blackfeather versus the weapon power Idris, even in the late game, able to consistently duel him, keeps himself healthy with the poison shiv, and also has the ability to execute far better than you would say than the Idris does, especially in the later stages of the game when you're going on extended fights. Juan Hernandez now just being the threat that he needs to be, and Lightning T is kind of being ignored, you feel. And I think the way that NRG are playing these fights are really interesting. What they are doing is they are splitting their team composition up. So they are sending Lightning T one way, they're sending Juan Hernandez the other way, and then suddenly C9 have to make the decision between, do we burst the weapon power Blackfeather, who, you know, with his Rose offensive, with his on point, his sustain can be quite hard to burst. Do we chase Lightning T, who is going to try and kite us forever with this Frostburn, Eve of Harvest, and Broken Myth build? And they're getting split, so C9 are splitting their focus, and then suddenly, you know, Juan Hernandez is picking off a member, and then Lightning T is then executing a member from afar, and C9 get kind of caught between two pincers of this NRG composition, and they haven't quite figured out which one is more threatening, and that's kind of causing them to just essentially lose focus and essentially lose the team fights too.
And this is where it comes back to my point about Breaking Point versus Tension Bow, is that Cloud9 have consistently at least done one thing at the start of every team fight at Scoundrel, and that is tried to kill Lightning T. Except with the burst heal that comes out of Bradley's Grace, now with an Echo for extra heals, you can't burst the Samuel, especially with a Breaking Point. You just won't stack it up. There's no way to stack it up unless Grace dive takes your face, you know, dives straight onto you and allows you to stack it up on her, and then you engage onto the Samuel. So this is where Tension Bow would have been more effective in killing Samuel, bursting him down. Of course, not as effective into the Blackfeather, but if the Samuel is dead, then surely as a unit Cloud9 can deal with the Blackfeather. I wonder if Cloud9 will adapt to this, or if they will find themselves losing teamfights consistently due to this Grace double hill.
Let's start with the Kraken here. A lot of people will be asking why not just Shatterglass, because I think it actually provides more flat healing than an Echo would on a double Grace heal. But there's so much more to the Grace heal kit than there is just having the flat heal. It also provides another 1.8 seconds where Grace has a massive damage reduction, so she becomes a stagnant target in a team fight, just tanking and soaking damage, especially from I Love Joseph, for instance. And also means she can split her heal onto multiple targets, which can also be very effective as well. So C9 going to pull the Kraken towards them, baiting NRG to make the first move here, which has never been the way that these team fights have actually played out yet, Doughty. It's always been C9 looking to make the first move. Is this going to be the change that you think C9 need as they've actually just back off from the Kraken entirely?
Yeah, the problem with NRG is that they can't hard engage into... that if there was to be a full-on engage, then Cloud9 would be able to just turn focus straight onto the Samuel. This fight may be hard for me to commentate Scoundrel, as it seems my network has dropped a little bit.
No, it was just me as well. I can do it. Actually, Old School jumping in here. He goes straight onto the Samuel. The massive heal comes out from the Grace. Lightning T eventually goes down, and C9 have the Crystal Sentry to contend with as well. Blackfeather now caught between a rock and a hard place. The Echo ultimate does come out. Juan Hernandez has got so many breaking point stacks, and he's starting to go to town, but C9 are splitting the focus so well. He gets one kill, but not enough, as C9 are able to clean shop and take the Crystal Sentry at the same time. They now have the opportunity to push into the base here, Dalcy. They might try and push for the win, but I don't think they have the time or the pressure on the turrets.
No, it's much safer to ensure that this turret goes down to the empowered minion wave and get themselves a Kraken. What a great fight from Cloud9 there. And this was purely due to the fact that Cloud9 as a unit were able to dive straight onto Lightning T. They were able, with the Idris, with the Sky, with the high mobility that they have, to just pincer him into either face-tanking Idris or face-tanking Sky. He doesn't want to be doing both, and that's exactly what happened. You move the Samuel from the pitcher, then taking down the Black Feather is much easier, and they've managed to do that with a breaking point as well. Cloud9 with the Kraken, with everyone coming back up, they're going to be looking for the end game here at Scoundrel, pushing towards the base.
Nice roll swap, by the way, Darcy. I think that worked well. I actually think that, another thing that played into C9's advantage was that this fight took place in the jungle. Everything was a bit more clumped up. There was less room for Lightning T and Juan Hernandez to maneuver. I actually think that NRG do better fighting in the lane, in the open spaces that allows Samuel to kite more effectively without the restrictions of those jungle walls getting in the way. Even though they tried to fight around the Crystal Sentry, Lightning T was much easier for Old School to get on top of because he didn't have the space to maneuver. And I think that's something that's really important to this NRG composition.
It's the Drifting Dark as well. How can you position the Drifting Dark to bend around corners? You can't. That's why the lane is so good, because Lightning T has a straight route that he can walk down with the Drifting Dark, make sure he's empowered, make sure he's getting as much healing as possible. Kraken looking for its first Vein Crystal turret here at Scoundrel. It's going to go down, and Cloud9 are just poking. Bradley looks for an engage. They're trying to take down this Kraken as quickly as possible, but NRG know that this is the end game, that this is it. They need to fight if they want to stay in this game. It's going to be Old School diving onto Juan. Lightning T left to his own devices. This is not the right order. Cloud9 realize it and disengage. They can't be trying to go on to Juan. He has so much self-healing and he has a Grace as well. It is Lightning T or bust, Cloud9.
Yeah, but also NRG did exactly how they've done in every fight that they've won so far. Lightning T went one way, Juan Hernandez went the other, Grace was stuck in the middle, and all she had to do was channel double ultimate onto Juan Hernandez. And remember, when you have a double ultimate, it not only provides you with the healing, but it gives Juan Hernandez a 40% damage reduction from all directions as well, Dalsy. All directions. So, especially as a Black Feather, that makes you even tankier. Your fortified health becomes better because it's harder to burst through. Your sustain becomes better because you make more health up as well. It's a perfect pick with the weapon power Black Feather because it makes him such a nuisance in these fights. And I've got to say, C9 were lucky that they didn't come away off the back end of that fight losing members.
Currently, it is a 6,000 gold lead at this 23-minute mark, but we've hit this point in the game at Scoundrel that I like to call the 45k point, where gold doesn't matter. Seemingly doesn't matter. NRG very happy to take fights against Cloud9 despite being at such a deep gold deficit. Cloud9 are realizing that NRG are on equal footing, if not a superior footing, if they get to play the win conditions of their team composition. NRG currently in the lane. This is where they want to fight. Old School taking a lot of poke at the beginning. There won't be any hard engages from NRG. Remember, if they do go for the hard engage, they risk putting Lightning T in a vulnerable position, and so they need to whittle away the health bars before they can attempt to do anything like that.
Yeah, I'm going to start to put pressure on the lane here. And again, this is where NRG want to fight. So the further they can push this lane in, the better it is for them. The problem is when Kraken is on the map, it means you kind of have to draw your attention down towards the jungle. And you think that given the way that the fights have gone, that's what Cloud9 would prefer. Infusions come out at this point in the game. You have to spend 500 gold every sort of couple of minutes to make sure you're maintaining your infusions. It is absolute requirement at this stage in the game that you have an infusion at all times. It's why it's very difficult to finish late game builds if you haven't finished it already, because you need to spend so much keeping up on the infusion map. But NRG currently have the controlling position, but I love what Cloud9 are doing here. They could easily rush the base if they had the option to. They're going to draw NRG up towards them.
Yep, that is the Bright Bulwark. Gabe Bizzle shutting down any engage onto Old School, the more vulnerable member, I think. Despite the fact that Sky is very squishy, Old School can be kited as an Idris. Bradley, though, taking so much poke. This is exactly what Cloud9 want, especially considering they've got map position.
They're just going to rush the base.
This forces NRG right down.
Rush the base here.
Either NRG hard engage, they pull back. It was Cloud9 at Kraken priority. Now Cloud9 have the middle of the base. In fact, they've split their ports. This is terrible. Cloud9, though, may not know it. Now they do. Juan's in the lane. This is where they look to fight. There's no Crystal Sentry to deal with, but instead they're just going to start this Kraken. I love this move by Cloud9. If they maintain it is a different question. It seems like Old School doesn't want to. Now they've baited NRG into a position where they want to fight.
Flare does come down. Whoa, Juan Hernandez. That might have been an interesting move.
That may have been the one way you throw this game. Juan taking a lot of damage. A pause comes out, Scoundrel.
Oh
A
no.
little bit odd, but it is stopped, and Lightning T does lose his life on the flip end of it. That's going to be NRG trying their best to stay on, but it's a double for Old School. It's looking like a triple. It will be taken away by Joseph, but that is GG. Juan, with that one Rose offensive, the one way that NRG would lose the game was a hard engage, and they did go for that. Not the one way, but the one way they 100% through a game.
But chat called me too savage last time I talked about this, so I'm probably going to be a bit nicer this time. That was about 6 out of 10 terrible move. No, that was just not a good move. that was definitely a throwing play there, and you can see it from the result. C9 just sweep the game, and NRG had a real chance to take that, Darcy.
Sounds like you've reduced your savageness by 1/3 there, Scoundrel. Pretty upsetting result there for NRG as they go pointless here in week 4. They are sitting on the edge of the challenge battles. 5 points, 1 over Tempo Storm and Hammers, who are currently playing in a series, but that is a 2-0 to Cloud9.
I mean, it was definitely an interesting game from NRG there. I think they showed real elements of promise. They had the ability to kite quite effectively. They split their composition up. That made it difficult for C9 to find a focus. I loved the Echo double heal onto the Black Feather. Everything was in their grasp. They could have easily taken this, but yeah.
I couldn't agree more, actually.
That is going to be them really taking it. We'll throw it back to the desk to break down that series.
Thank you very much, guys. We're already here. We were listening in the whole time. Yeah, convincing series for Cloud9 in the end. Scoundrel made some great points in his little outro there. I mean, thoughts, guys? What went wrong for NRG at the end?
I mean,